Welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about functions. Now, one of the really useful things about learning how to code is making things easier for ourselves. And sometimes, as you get more and more advanced in coding, you'll find yourself writing the same code over and over again. Well, when this happens, it's often best to actually write a function. That way it's much easier to call that code again and again. Now, we've seen a lot of predefined functions that Python gives us, like the print function or the length function, but we can make them ourselves. And we make them using the def or the def keyword. So def space Paul's function, open and close parentheses, colon, and then anything inside the function is tabbed out into a block. And here you can say print hello, nice function. So whenever I call this function, it will run whatever code happens to be inside this code block. So here, to run it, down here, I'm just saying Paul's function, open parentheses, close parentheses, and it's just going to run it. It's really quite simple. So I'll do Python 15 functions 1. We can see hello, nice function. Now, if I had not called this function, nothing's actually going to happen because that code isn't getting run. Whoops. Did I forget to save it? There, I had forgotten to save it. So Python 15 functions 1, if we run it again, that code doesn't execute. So we can actually use this idea to manipulate data in very interesting ways. And when I say manipulate, I mean handle it, clean it, whatever. I don't mean do anything dishonest with it. We can also write these functions to take some input and do something with it. So here, all you need to do is put the input, which is just a variable name, inside the parentheses. So you can say def whose function name. And then you can say print hi name nice function. And then when you call it, you can give it a different input value each time. And now you can start to see why this is useful. Whose function Paul, whose function Pim. So this function is expecting a string, so if you give it something that Python can't implicitly turn into a string, you might get some errors, but for the most part, you should be fine. I'll run this, and you can see that I have hi Paul, nice function, hi Pim, nice function. So it's taking that name and it's sticking it inside the function and executing the code. Now you can also have multiple inputs pretty easily by just having multiple variables inside these parentheses. So your name, comma, my name. And now I can take both of these values and say, hi, your name, my name is my name. And then I can just give this function both of these inputs. And I'll run this, and I'll say Python 3, functions 3, multiple input, and we'll say, hi, Paul, my name is Pim. See, it's relatively straightforward. Now, in other cases, you might actually want to provide your function optional inputs. So to do this, you can actually add what are known as keyword arguments, and these come after your positional arguments, your name and my name. I can say, I have this extra variable that I'm going to call interaction, and by default, this equals greeting. And inside this function, I'm going to say, if my interaction is greeting, print, hi, your name, my name is my name. Otherwise, if the interaction equals parting, it's going to print, goodbye, your name, my name, will miss you. So when we actually use this, we can run whose function, which is Paul and Pim, with no extra keyword there, and it'll just behave in a default manner using greeting. Essentially, in line 14, we're doing exactly the same thing by actually specifying the greeting, and I can run it in a different way by specifying parting, like I do here on line 17. So I'll run this, and we can see that we run the greeting twice and the parting once. So this is how you add optional keywords to your functions. Now, in many other cases, you're going to want to be writing your functions and getting data back out of your functions. So, for example, I can write a function that adds two things together. So, for example, result equals num plus num. So here, this is functional definition we've already seen. And here I'm just saying take number 1 and add it to number 2, save it to this result variable, and then return something. So you have to use the return keyword. So say return is the result. And I can actually include code in the return if we want, so we wouldn't even need to save it as a variable. We can just say return num1 plus num2. And then what we do here is to demonstrate that there is a return value, I can say result equals add 10, 10. And down here, I'll just say print the result. Because this way we can see, in fact, this function call returns something. We're getting this error because pylint doesn't like that I've defined this function twice, which is fine. I shouldn't do that, but for demonstration purposes, it's fine. So I'll run Python 15 functions 5 output, and then we can see that the answer is, of course, 20. 10 plus 10 is 20. So that's the basics of using functions to kind of gather code together so it's easier to use again in your code later. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about the natural language toolkit. And here we're going to really start getting into actually dealing with linguistic and language data. So I hope you're excited, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.